Happy Tuesday! Wanted to talk about not understanding romance, and this is something that's not just asexual, or really just anybody, because plenty of people are confused about it. Me too. It's something that has completely perplexed me for a very, very long time, to the point where I finally got annoyed enough that I wanted to look into it. Also, just because it's really cool when people know something just that's really cool and has all these kind of rules, but when you don't understand it, it's hard to appreciate it. And so, for the past 2 years, I think now, I've really studied up as hard as I can on it, and I still don't understand a lot. But there are some things about not understanding it I have now come to understand, so I would like to share that. In kind of romance and that sort of thing, it's interesting because, well, there's a lot of interesting about it, but one of the most interesting discoveries that I made was kind of just it's for me, it's like sparring. Really great romance and that sort of thing is really fun and cool to watch, and there's a lot of, I guess, what's mostly about it is it's a fight between emotions and feelings. So it's kind of an invisible fight that's going on, or play, rather. Much how I've come to view it as kind of a translation is a fight, or that sort of thing. Where kind of a really cool spar, or sword fights really cool, and you're just wow, look at this spar, and it's really fun to watch. What happens is if there's fights that aren't as good and that sort of thing, I guess I'm mostly speaking for media here. So this is for media. I love watching a really great spar, people who actually know what they're doing and just fighting, and they're just whoa, look at that, that's amazing. I think anybody kind of really appreciates that. The same with romance as well. I feel if people know, it's really just a knowledge base. If there's two people who are really good at knowing the logistics of romance and that sort of thing, who kind of go head to head with each other, it's really, really fun to watch, and it can be really cool. But I feel in media, particularly now, we don't have a whole lot of examples of that. For the most part, we're mostly getting stuff produced, and this isn't just with romance too, this is also with action and that sort of thing. But instead of it being really well rehearsed in practice, which I just find either to be really, really cool, of either field, but instead of kind of that, where you just get kind of lamer fights or that sort of thing, or stuff that's not really researched or anything like that, which, I mean, depending upon your area of is still okay for you, because you still really like that subject, and so even if it's kind of cheesy or not really how cool and complex it can be, you're still just you're enjoying it because you just enjoy that aspect so much. So I feel that more for romance, but in particular, I just have never been able to really understand it. But I also feel there haven't been a whole lot of good romances out there that I know of, that I've found. The ones I have found that are have been really great, usually took me a while. I thought it was okay, but I didn't quite know what happened. It seemed pretty simple, but then all of a sudden I watch it again, and I'm wow, there's a whole other thing that I just completely missed the first time I viewed this. That happens to me almost every single time with romance, in particular. I can watch it once and I'm just it just seems pretty, just they're there and just going about their lives or whatever, and then all of a sudden I watch it the second time, and because everybody else is just oh, it's so romantic, and oh, it's so lovely, and all this sort of thing, and I'm we watched the same thing, and then I rewatch it, and then I'm oh, I missed so much the first time I watched this. I don't know what happened. It's really cool because the rules are, I think, very definite, but one's harder for me to understand. Or I've just had a harder time understanding it. It just hasn't come to be. I know I talked a bit about my romantical wants and that sort of thing, but even though they're my wants, or even kind of views, they're not something I'd see or really experience, that sort of thing. I'm not too accustomed with all this romance. It kind of goes over my head. But I do think it's really cool. Like, anything done very well. I think pretty much everybody just enjoys anything done very well. Like, if it's just a masterpiece, it's a masterpiece no matter kind of what field it is or what your own personal likes are. And I think romance can be badgered or not thought of as well. Particularly like with media view, I think there's a lot more complexities and a lot more they could do with it that they just haven't done, at least not currently, or at least not just at the moment. Because I have seen like some really good older films. The biggest problem I see with media, particularly where it involves romance, is that they don't spend enough time with actual relationships, which bothers me because I've been trying my best to like look up romance and relationships because that's not really something I personally have or view, and so I like to know the other perspective, but it's hard when I can't find any information about about an actual relationship. They're really hard to find. A lot of the time they're only going on the chase of their relationship at the very beginning, but that's just the very beginning of a relationship. It's not the actual like hither tither of a whole like actual going on relationship, which makes me most frustrated. And it's just a subject I've always kind of been interested in, whether romantic or not. I love relationships. I love the different ways they can form and all the different things within relationships, and the fact that we don't have enough media just like really showing people getting along together, it's upsetting, I think. But yes, as confusing as it is, I appreciate everybody's likes, and I really like romance. I really like people that like romance, and I like having to try to understand it, but it's also okay that I don't care for it, but I liked understanding it, and it's fun, and yes, I think that's all I have to say. But yes, whether you like it or don't like it and that sort of thing, I just don't think like dissing either one way or another's kind of personal likes and then personal understanding. The view that's like if you don't understand something, it shouldn't mean that it makes you a person or that sort of thing. Just like if I don't understand like romance, it doesn't automatically just mean like, oh yes, of course you're like asexual or that sort of thing, or I'm asexual because I don't understand romance or that sort of thing. Like, that's really not what any sort of thing should happen, but does kind of happen and have been questions I've got as well. So that's just why I wanted to state that you can understand and not understand. There's plenty of sexual people I know that don't understand romance and all the other intricacies with it, but I think it's really cool when you can see two people who are really good at something kind of play together, much like watching like a sword fight or a fist fight or like martial arts or romance or just any kind of like sparring against or with one another or dance. It's really cool to see two people who are really good at it, and it's even fun seeing the people trying to be or trying and practice at it. So they're all cool, and that's all I really wanted to say. So I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye!